Welcome, everyone. It is Tuesday, what is it, December 2nd. Thank you all for being here, taking the time to spend with me and learn or deepen your knowledge about this incredible technology, the X39. So I'll be sharing a little bit about myself and then doing a brief presentation with slides, and then we'll have a Q&A afterwards. The Q&A will not be recorded, but the presentation will be recorded so you can watch it again if you like. So I'm just going to share a little bit about myself and my background first before I get started. And for anyone that does not know me, my name is Rachel Maurice, and I worked as an anesthesiologist in Canada for close to 20 years. And I apologize, I'm actually manning the waiting room as well. So I worked as an anesthesiologist in Canada for close to 20 years, and I left in 2021 when I decided that I wanted to be able to make decisions over my own health and to have that right. And so when I left, I didn't think that I'd be gone for very long, but in that time, I did a lot of investigating, uncovering of information that I had not known or learned about in my medical education outside of other things. But what I ended up coming across was an entirely new paradigm and understanding of how the body works, which was fascinating at the beginning, disturbing, became fascinating quite quickly. And what I mean by that is the modern medical model, including a lot of the other practices that are complementary, really focus on the biochemistry and the body being a physical being run by that biochemistry. But upstream from all of that communication, the signals to run everything downstream actually comes from light. So light is the most upstream signal and sends information to run all of the biochemistry and the physical nature of the body. And that in all of my learning, I started doing a deep dive into light and changing a lot of lifestyle habits, which had a huge impact on my own health because I had some energy issues, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, and really doing a few simple things. I regained my energy within a couple of weeks. My sleep was still not great, and so I was still searching at that point. But I ended up coming across these patches, first initially actually by another medical doctor, but I didn't investigate. I didn't actually take it too seriously at the time. It wasn't until a year later when I had was working with someone that I actually trusted and saw a huge transformation in herself and asked her what she was doing. And she was telling me that she was using these patches. So I thought I needed to take a further look at them. And what I uncovered was something far deeper than I had thought initially. And it was also very timely because at that time, my mom's health was starting to decline to the point where she was telling me that her doctors were talking about potentially looking at heart surgery. So, having spent 25 years in the operating room, I really did not want my mom to have surgery if she did not absolutely have to. And so I got on board with these patches. We tried them because, as you'll see in the presentation goes on, there's absolutely no downside to trying them because nothing enters the body. It works with our own healing mechanisms. There's no medication interactions, there's no risk. And so, really, a natural approach, in my opinion, is much better before you have to resort to some kind of invasive intervention and risky. So, the person who introduced me to these happened to be a cardiac surgical nurse for 20 years. And she not only told me stories, but shared investigations such as echocardiograms and ECGs of people who had been using these patches for 8, 10, 12 months and had gone from being in heart failure to no longer being in heart failure, and the degree to which I had never seen in my career, nor had she. And hers was specifically in cardiac surgery for 20 years. So again, it was a no-brainer to get my mom started. I prepared my mom to have patience because we are a drive-through society. There's that big red easy button. That's a joke in commercials. Just push that button. Everyone wants the easy button. That's not really how our body works. It's very miraculous and beautifully designed. However, it does take time. So I prepared my mom to give it a year, that she wasn't going to complain to me before a year was up, that she didn't notice anything. So I was actually astonished when within 2 weeks, she went from having to stop every 2 to 3 steps to catch her breath from her heart failure, because that's fluid gets backed up into the lungs, to walking with me for 20 to 30 minutes on an incline while talking at the same time. That made no sense to me from my previous understanding of how the body works, but it made more sense to me from this new paradigm, this new light and energy and how the body works from that angle. So within 3 weeks, she then had to actually have her thyroid medication lowered by her doctor that she had been on for over 30 years. So she started to have some more changes, varicose veins diminishing, spider veins going away, a lot of skin issues she had from some medications completely disappeared. Her energy and vibrancy just was very noticeable, especially by a lot of her friends who were then asking what she was doing. And I'm not going to go into too much detail right now because I want to get on with the presentation, but I can share more afterwards. But I just started sharing with so many people around me because everyone seems to be struggling. Everyone, if you personally are not, you have a friend, a loved one, a colleague that is really struggling or suffering with something and running out of options, especially within the allopathic world, but even the complementary alternative and holistic world. There are a lot of things out there and they are very beneficial. However, sometimes they require a lot of effort or motivation or drive or even a lot of extra money. And so I know myself, I'm personally a very motivated and diligent person. I mean, you would have to get through the training in medicine. And even I sometimes struggle to incorporate some regular practices into my life. So I know for the average person, it really can be difficult, which is why this technology is so absolutely incredible. So I'm going to share my screen and get on with the presentation. And I have to say, I used to say that I'm really bad with technology, which I stopped saying, and I'm actually getting much better with not everyone not having to see everything on my screen. But if I can get someone to give me a thumbs up, you can see my screen. So you're seeing yeah, okay, great. All right, so what we are talking about here with these patches are not doing anything to your body themselves. They are merely activating what your body already knows how to do. So it is supporting, it is boosting, it is enhancing your body's own healing mechanisms. So this is why we talk about the patch. It's not the patch doing it. The patch is actually just reigniting and reactivating your body's own mechanisms. So before we actually get into the details, although I am a medical doctor, I actually gave up my medical license this past spring. So anything that I'm saying is not medical advice. I am not acting as a medical doctor. I'm not your medical doctor. And what I'm going to be talking about today, the Lifewave products, are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. So why are we here today? I touched on it a little bit earlier. As we age, time goes on. I heard this all the time in the hospital setting. You know, someone would complain about their back. Oh, that's just because you're getting older. Or someone would complain about just low energy. That's just because you're getting older. I didn't buy that and I don't buy that. But what happens as time goes on, our body does get used. We use our cells. Our cells function. They have a lot of cellular processes that take place. And while I don't like to liken our body to a machine, like a machine, when there's usage, things start to wear down, parts start to wear down, need to be replaced. So the same happens with our body, and we start to feel that as the years go on when the repair mechanisms aren't working as well as they were when we were younger. So we start to have lower energy. We start to struggle to stay active. Who can think back to, what you used to be able to do when you were maybe in your mid-20s, the activities that you used to like to do that maybe you're not able to do quite as well now, although some of us are getting back to that nowadays, or feeling like your body isn't keeping up. I know my mom always says she's 84 now, and in her mind, she still feels like she's 20, but she'll say her body just isn't keeping up to her mind, right? A lot of us struggle with that, and that can get us into trouble sometimes as well. Or we lack the ability to focus. How many times have you walked into a room with the intention, you knew you were going to get something or there was a reason, and you get into the room and then you actually forgot why you were there. Or you are struggling to remember words or articulate yourself or lack the focus. And sometimes that can end up making you isolate yourself. I know for myself, I got sick in early 2020 for about 2 weeks with whatever that COVID was. And my cognition took a nosedive, and that left me actually not wanting to spend a lot of time with people because I felt like I just wasn't able to express myself. And it was quite frankly embarrassing. So sometimes these things actually end up isolating us. And what happens is we're human beings. We need connection, we need community, and that's a huge part of how we thrive. And so that can also lead to our decline. But imagine if you could feel energized, if you could get back to doing what you used to be able to do, or even just what you want to do, like play with your kids or grandkids without fatigue. I know my dad takes a 3 hour nap in the middle of the day. Imagine if he wasn't that tired and he got 3 hours back in his day to do something else. Imagine being able to think more clearly, regain that mental clarity, your focus, your memory, your productivity. And just like I said earlier, maybe that would allow you to get back into connection and community with people more, which really helps us thrive. There are all those studies that were done on failure to thrive with babies, for those that are not aware, um, in orphanages, ones that were not picked up, ones that were left by themselves and didn't have that bond, the connection with another human being. It's called failure to thrive. And so connecting with other humans really does allow us to thrive. Imagine being able to move freely, to be able to walk again, exercise without discomfort. I know there's one story of a lady over in the UK. I'm not sure if anyone who's on here knows this story, but she had MS for 30 years. And prior to that, she was an equestrian and she swam. But for 30 years, her exercise consisted of sitting in a chair, and she was in chronic pain and had neuropathy to the point where if she put her hand in a pot of boiling water, she couldn't feel it. Well, 2 months on these patches, she has started walking again. She started swimming again. And she grabbed a potato from the microwave, threw it across the room because she started to regain feeling and sensation in her hand. So imagine what that can do for your life, being able to regain some of those abilities. Imagine reducing stress, enjoying a calmer, more balanced life, and not just you, but that affects everybody else around you, right? When you're stressed, that tends to spill over onto loved ones. That's just the way it happens because we're human. So it also affects everyone else. So herein lies one of the biggest problems. And this was not something that I was taught in medicine. We learned about stem cells in embryology, when you have a sperm and an egg that comes together and then they double and reproduce and create a baby. And all of those cells that become the different organs and organ systems, like your liver, your heart, your stomach, they all start from one cell, but that cell has the instructions to become every single cell, tissue, organ system in the body. And so that is how we grow. And we think we stop growing after puberty, but we really continue to grow in the sense that we might not be able to see from the outside, but our cells are constantly turning over. We're replacing damaged and dying cells. And so, for example, our gut lining from our mouth all the way to our bum, we actually should be replacing those cells ideally and optimally every 3 to 5 days, completely replacing them. That doesn't happen for most people, but where do those cells come from that are replacing them? They come from stem cells because they contain the instructions to become any cell in the body. So by the time we are 30, half of our stem cells have actually gone dormant. So this is the part that I was not taught. And by the time we are 60, 90% have gone dormant. So now imagine all of that work that's going on. Your cells are being used, there's damage incurring, there's death of cells, and you're not able to replace those cells. So the decline and the aging is going to happen much faster because you're not able to keep up with the fixing at the same rate as the decline. And so that was a real aha moment for me when I put that together, realizing what I'd seen in the hospital with so many people who were sick and just didn't recover from whether it was surgery or illness, it made complete sense. So the fewer stem cells you have, the faster you actually age and the slower you heal. So we're talking now here with this technology about activating healing with light. And so at the beginning, when I was sharing, I did a huge deep dive into light. That was a complete mindset shift for me because it's not anything that I had been thinking about before. However, if we think about it, we actually all know that this is a real thing. Well, there's a term here called photobiomodulation. That's just the scientific term that's been used in the last couple of decades with research. And it just means photo, light, bio, body, and modulation change. And so that really just means changing the body using light. But think about the original phototherapy is actually the sun. We know that we need ultraviolet light, specifically that ultraviolet B, a certain amount for our body to make vitamin D, right? So it's not the sun that's actually creating the vitamin D, it's the sun signaling using specific wavelengths, carrying information, telling our cells to make vitamin D. The same goes with melanin, that pigment that we see when we get a tan. So specific wavelengths of light are sending information to our cells, specific cells, to make that melanin. So that really is a type of phototherapy. You might also be familiar with phototherapy, babies who are born yellow, jaundiced, and in the hospital setting, we use a specific wavelength of light, again, to help clear that pigment from the body. So again, that's a type of phototherapy. The last couple of decades, science is just finally catching up and doing research on this. And there are, for those that are not aware, again, there are over 6,000, I believe it was 10,000, but just on the conservative side, 6,000 studies in PubMed, which is the repository of scientific research, on photobiomodulation. So I know I've had a couple of people say to me they've gone to their doctor who said that it's complete bunk, but that just means that person has actually not done and gone and done the research. So if anyone says that to you, you can point them in that direction because photobiomodulation is fascinating. It's specifically actually in the scientific literature speaking to wavelengths of light that are in the red and infrared spectrum. And those have been shown to promote tissue repair, reduce inflammation, reduce pain, improve wound healing. And they actually target the mitochondria, those little energy factories in our cells, directly to help increase energy, metabolic water production. So it's a huge, it's not anything new. This is just something that is now, they're finding different ways of being able to tap into the light. And this technology uses our own light, which is, again, it's just quite genius. And the way that it's doing this and it's activating our own healing is through the power of this incredible peptide. So you don't have to know the name of it. It's a copper peptide, but for those interested, it's GHK-Cu, and that is 3 amino acids, glycine, histidine, and lysine. Yes, K stands for lysine, and copper, the Cu. And so I had not been taught anything about this copper peptide, but you might have heard in the athletic industry, there's a huge rage and attention on peptides, injectable peptides, because they really do make a difference. This particular peptide actually was discovered in 1973 by a Dr. Laurent Picard, and he first discovered the improved and rapid wound healing properties with this peptide. But there's 50 years of research. Again, I can direct you to PubMed, or if anyone's asking you about it, that is where you can look up this particular copper peptide. And one of the things that is absolutely amazing about it is it resets over 4,000 genes in our genome, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. But one of those genes happens to be our stem cell gene, P63. And that is how it reactivates our own dormant stem cells. And so when you reactivate stem cells, you are waking up the healing mechanisms in your body, and those healing cells are getting back to work, and they are going to start repairing all of the damage that's been done that hasn't been able to be done for a while. and start to actually cause age reversal. And so this copper peptide is actually known in the literature as the holy grail of age reversal. So how this copper peptide is elevated is through the power of this patch. And the patch there, as you can see, it's very small. It's the size of, oh, well, I was going to say it's the size of a loonie, but for those in the UK, I don't know what if you use coins there, but you can see the size of about a quarter. And inside the middle part is a crystal lattice that is sealed. So it is non-transdermal. Nothing enters the body. It's using this crystal lattice to reflect the light that we make back into the body. So that crystal lattice is made up of organic amino acids, sugars, salts, and stabilized oxygen. And it's very thin, but it is a crystal. And so it's got ridges and reflects specific frequencies. And that's where the genius comes in, where the inventor figured out what frequencies of light are needed to be reflected to send the information to our body to increase the production of that GHK-Cu copper peptide. Now, some of us might not be familiar with the fact that our body makes light, but that again was not taught to me in medicine. But think of yourselves as warm-blooded mammals, right? We also see on TV or even with thermography, right, that night vision goggles you see not with your visible eye, but when you put those goggles on, you see that halo of red, that heat that is emitted by our bodies. That is actually synonymous with light. It's just a matter of the length of the wavelength. And so we actually make an infrared light. We also make UV, but I'm not touching on that here. We make infrared light in our mitochondria, and that is the energy source that is being used for these patches. So here are some of the benefits of the X39. And again, these are just some of them. And really, it is the benefits of the copper peptide, because the X39 allows our body to increase production of that copper peptide. So it is the copper peptide that is doing all of these amazing, incredible things. So reducing inflammation and pain, and inflammation is fundamental to almost all chronic diseases. So that is pervasive across the board. If you can reduce inflammation, imagine being able to reduce the symptoms that you have, even reverse disease. And pain is something that I know very well. It's a subspecialty in anesthesia with chronic pain, because much of the population is really struggling with that. Just 30, I say just, I mean that because that is only part of the chronic pain that people are dealing with in the world, but it's 30% of people walking around the world are in chronic back pain. There are a lot of other chronic pain syndromes, even acute pain. But this also improves strength, stamina, and energy levels. And that's not just for people who are lacking in that, but athletes who want to take their performance to the next level could really use any leg up. And there are a lot of Olympic athletes and professional sports players who are using these patches. It improves muscle and bone density, which declines as we age, improves mental clarity, and reduces stress. And I touched on the mental clarity and stress earlier, but I just want to emphasize the stress here, because especially in the last 5 years, stress has really escalated, and medicine doesn't give it its due diligence, because while a lot of times people say, yes, you want to reduce your stress, your mental stress, your emotional stress, it really, uh, in reality, does affect the physical nature of your being. So it is all around. And I know I did mention earlier, reducing your stress also affects all those people that are in your immediate vicinity. So that's helpful as well. Balancing hormones and easing anxiety are also really big now, and improving hair growth and skin appearance. I just like to touch on this a little bit deeper than just talking about hair and skin, because this speaks to an improvement and an increase in collagen. And collagen is so much deeper than skin deep. It's actually the most abundant protein in the body. It comprises 70% of the protein in the body. And the way it is structured, it is actually part of our fascia, all of our connective tissue, which not only is a physical structure holding things in place, but it's also extremely functional. And one of the things that it does is actually it makes up our communication superhighway in the body. While we think of hormones and neurotransmitters and all the chemistry that's going on as the communication network, that's one way, but it's actually the slowest way. Then we have the electrical impulses we think of with our heart and our nervous system, and that is faster. But light as a communication means is actually it's at the speed of light. It is the fastest. And the way the collagen is structured, it forms these nanotubules of water that touch every single part of the body, and light travels through these water networks in the body through the electrons. So I just wanted to express just how important this part is, increasing collagen, because everything is about communication to express health. Just think of how in every system, whether it's your family system, education system, work, political, dare I even say that thing? Um, but when there's harmony, things work really well. When there is communication breakdown, things start to fall apart. The same goes in our body. So communication is absolutely critical. This also promotes cellular repair and wound healing and improves sleep quality. And again, sleep quality is not a small issue. Sometimes people brush it aside and say, yeah, my sleep's a little bit better. But I just want to emphasize again how important sleep quality is. You can get 8 hours of sleep where you are asleep, but if you're not getting the repair that it needs to be taking place during that time, then again, that breakdown is going to happen much faster. So the quality is gives you the time for the repair to happen. And so, as far as long-term results, while within the first few days, over 4,000 genes begin to reset to a younger state, we don't always feel this. I don't know about you, but I've taken a zillion supplements over the years, and to be honest, I've not actually felt a single thing from any of them. While I know some of them I know I need to take, I've not felt anything. So, this isn't necessarily something you're going to feel. But to give context to this, we have, depending on the sources you read and you look at, we have around 20,000 genes in our genome. So resetting 4,000 is a massive amount, especially when you think of people might have heard about the benefits of red wine and resveratrol that's in red wine, which is now bottled in a supplement. You can go to your local health food store and grab a bottle. That resveratrol has the attention that it does because it resets two genes. This resets over 4,000 genes. Within 6 weeks, the brain becomes more balanced. So what does that mean? It means the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain are actually speaking together. And what I said about communication, that helps with the communication to the rest of the body as well. And communication allows us to express health. Within 3 months, collagen is increased, and I really probably belabored that one. Within 6 months, the heart reverses in age. And I love this quote that David Schmidt says is it's not anti-aging, it's age reversal. If I can just ask everyone to mute themselves, please. I can't see where that was coming from. How to wear this patch. So this is one of the things that I absolutely love. And I say that a lot about the different things about this technology, but this really is the simplest tool that I have come across in the 30 years that I've been in medicine and the about 8 now that I've been in the holistic world. And again, as I said earlier, there are a lot of beneficial things out there that I've tried, and I absolutely endorse. However, sometimes it really does take effort, motivation, time out of your day, extra money. And this is something you literally, it's a sticker. You peel the backing off, you stick it on your body. You can put it anywhere on your body that has skin. The specific points that are in the little pamphlet are where the research is done, but literally you can put it anywhere on your body. You wear it for 12 hours during the day. It increases energy, so that is important to stress during the day. And then you take it off after 12 hours so your body gets a time to reset and it still responds to the stimulus the next day. But then you put a new one on the next day, and you continue that for however long your goals are. So the research shows that 97% of people see an effect by 90 days. So really, you want to give it a minimum of a 90-day trial. But when you think about it, we don't get sick overnight. It actually takes decades to get sick. So 90 days is like a blip on the map to giving it a go. And how many people go to their doctors and they get started on a medication and they say, yeah, we got to give it a good 6 weeks to 3 months before we're going to notice anything. So I really encourage people to understand that 90 days really is a minimum. The recommendation is a month for every decade that you've been alive on the planet. And that is to get the full reactivation of your stem cells. That's not to get every single thing that you want done in your body done, because again, it takes decades to get sick. It's going to take time to heal. When you take it off after the 12 hours, you can put it on your pet, you can put it on your plant. We have a story of plant flowering after 12 years, which is unbelievable. And I've been using it on my dog. We have lots of testimonials now about dogs and horses as well, which there's no placebo with animals or plants or even little kids. But I just want to go back. Sorry, what I didn't say before was I talked about the 90 days or a month for every decade that you've been alive on the planet. Really, it depends on your goal as to what you are looking to resolve. So you might want to just wear it until you have resolution of the issue that you're looking to resolve. Or if you're anything like me, I am all about prevention. It's much easier to prevent illness than to walk your way out of it. And personally, after everything I've seen in 30 years of medicine, I do not ever want to have to access the medical system if I don't have to. So this is something that is at the top of my list that I am wearing on a daily basis. I also have both my kids wearing them for that and more reasons, but you want to make sure that you drink plenty of water and electrolytes. And as I basically said earlier, talking about how the water network in our body is how light communicates and travels, we need to make sure that we've got a lot of hydration on board. And while drinking water is not the main way of hydrating, it is important. And adding electrolytes to your water is also very important, because if you just drink 3 liters of straight water, you're going to actually pee most of that out. It's going to end up in the toilet. When you add electrolytes, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and buy powdered electrolytes, you can add unrefined salt, which means all of the minerals are still attached. That helps keep the water in the body, but it also helps contribute to the negative charge, which is how our cells express health. And we run on negative charge. So that's really important, the water and the electrolytes. And just like baking a cake, you need all the ingredients to create that copper peptide, including copper. And we didn't used to have to think about this because it used to just be abundant in our food supply, which it's not anymore because of agricultural practices. I tend to focus on making sure you get adequate copper in your diet, which these are just some examples, not an exhaustive list, but at the top of the list is organ meats, everyone's favorite, I know, but I got my kids to take a desiccated organ meat supplement. Excuse me. And next on the list, again, not anything that I'm thrilled with, which I wish I was, but oysters, if you like them, they are a superfood all around. Seafood and shellfish. And if you don't eat any of those, avocados are rich in copper, nuts in particular, cashews, sunflower seeds, and probably everyone's favorite, a small square of dark chocolate actually has enough copper for the day. So what to expect? This is an interesting one. And I know I repeat myself, and repetition is really how we drive things into our subconscious and remember them, which is why I repeat them. But healing does not happen overnight, and getting sick does not happen overnight. So we really have to give ourselves patience with this. We want to make sure we take note of specific issues, not necessarily focus on the names of diseases that we've been given, because medicine's created, they come up with a new one every day. There's over 36,000 names, and it's really all about cellular dysfunction, right? It's just where those cells are dysfunctional and the combination, and then a new name comes out. So you might be having issues with your brain, with your eyes, with your digestion, with your skin, joints. Those are the kind of things that we want to look at. You want to write out your wish list, and everyone is different. And I, again, really want to stress this, because you might see someone else who, I was talking earlier about a friend who literally put the patch on, and her her long COVID went away immediately. She was winded, out of breath, had done marathons before, and Orange Theory, the high intensity workouts. And then after COVID, was winded walking her dog. And overnight, that turned around. But that doesn't mean it happens for everybody, right? We all come to this planet with a different set of genetic instructions. We've been alive a different number of years. We've been raised in different environments in terms of the different stresses, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And we all live in different environment in terms of our toxic loads, what's in our water, the foods we eat, whether we're eating processed foods, what's in the air that we're breathing, all sorts of things. So we are all different, and the patches go to work where needed. Our body has an intelligence that I don't think we are ever going to understand. I don't think that we should actually be understanding everything about it, but it is exquisitely designed. We have 100,000 reactions going on in every single cell every second of the day. There's no way we can even comprehend that. So our body knows what to do. We just have to give it the right signals. It's going to know what needs healing first. So while you might be wearing the patch because you've got a knee issue, your body might say, we got to work on your eyes, we got to work on your blood sugar levels, your pancreas, or your hormones. And sometimes things that happen inside the body, we don't actually feel. And I say this because there are a lot of people that say, well, I tried it for a month or I tried it for 3 months. I didn't feel anything. It's not working. I'm stopping. And so again, that's not really how the body works. Like I said earlier, I've taken so many supplements over the years. I've never felt anything from them. But also, there are now so many stories that I have heard from people being in the company now 19 months. For example, 3 people now who had been in kidney failure did not feel a thing while they were using the patches, but because they were in kidney failure, they're monitored by a specialist, a nephrologist. And at the end of 6 and 8 months, they were no longer in kidney failure. If they had just merely gone by what they felt, they would have stopped it and said, nothing's working. So the body knows what to do. We don't feel everything that happens, but do trust that it is working. If you're tired, it's working because, again, I don't like the machine analogy, but people understand this one. We all have a cell phone. We know that when we've got a full battery, we can use every single function that's going on, multiple functions at the same time with that cell phone. But the minute we start to drain that battery and it goes into low power mode, things start to shut down and it has to prioritize what functions it's going to let you use. So the same goes for our body. We have a certain amount of energy to run our body. It actually requires extra energy for healing. And so if you're tired, basically your body's saying, stop using your muscles, stop doing this, stop expending all this energy in other ways. We need to conserve it and use it for healing. So I tell people to just honor that fatigue, get the sleep, and allow your body to do the healing. You also want to make sure that you are breathing properly. 99% of the world and human beings actually don't breathe properly. They breathe from their upper chest, which I know I'm doing now talking, and also the neck and accessory muscle use. But we really want to focus on diaphragmatic breathing. That's the main muscle of breathing, and it pulls the oxygen into the parts of the lung where it can be picked up more easily. And that oxygen gets deposited in the mitochondria where energy is made, where the water is made. So that is the importance. It allows you to make more energy. So here is a brain scan of a 77-year-old woman who, on the left-hand side, you can see that was before she started using the patch. And there's a lot of red, and that shows inflammation. The green and light blue is what we want. That's coherence, and there's very little of that in the left-hand side image. The middle image is 3 weeks after starting the X39. And again, I want to emphasize 3 weeks is a very short period of time. But look, all of that red is gone. That means the inflammation is gone from her brain in 3 weeks. There is a little bit more of the green and light blue. That dark blue is just low activity. But here we see on the right-hand side, this is 6 weeks. Again, that's not a long time, but there's a complete turnaround. Still no red, no inflammation. And look at all that light blue and green there. That is coherence. Again, coherence is about communication. It's about the body and the brain working in harmony. And that is how we express health. Here are a couple of images. On the left-hand side, you can see here, this is a lady with what we have termed in medicine vitiligo, and it's what it has to do with is there are areas of patchy depigmentation. So there are patches where there's no pigment, there's no melanin, and that is actually it's part an autoimmune disease. And so she tried everything. She said, I don't know what that means, but that's what she said here, to get rid of it. Nothing worked. But when she started the X39, that worked. And you can see over here on this side, while it's a different color, the important part of the image is that it's a uniform color across her back. There are no patchy areas where there's a lack of pigment. And then here on the right-hand side, you can see, for those that cannot imagine, this is actually a knee. After a knee replacement, I've seen, I don't even know how many of these in my career. And this is using the patch for only 2 days after, well, from the left-hand side to the right-hand image. And that is really very rapid wound healing. So I would be remiss if I did not talk about the inventor, founder, and CEO of this company, David Schmidt. He is half the reason that I absolutely 1000% endorse it, even beyond the patches, because there's so much more with this company now that I've learned. But this man has now over 200 patents. I think it's actually coming up to 250. And there are over 80 clinical trials done on these patches. And so for those that are research minded, yes, the gold standard, the double-blind placebo, randomized controlled trials, and independent studies have been done with these patches. The company is actually a 20-year-old company. Now, David Schmidt did not start out intending to market to the public. He actually started out as an independent contractor working for the government and creating emergency survival equipment for the Navy SEALs. He created an emergency oxygen generator that they said couldn't be done, and he did it. And so that's why they kept him, because they wanted him to just create more things. And he decided, because of his interest in health and wellness, he wanted to make something for the Navy SEALs to be able to use to stay alert and focused and have energy without relying on all of those nasty supplements and caffeine and ephedrine and things that cause addiction and just negative stuff in the body. And that's when the first patch was born, called the Energy Enhancer. And that used our own light to increase mitochondrial energy production, the water production, lipid beta oxidation. And as soon as 9/11 hit, the government dropped him because he wasn't making weapons. And he ended up connecting through friends, through colleagues, through networking to I believe his name is Richard Quick, the 4-time Olympic swim coach at Stanford. They trialed these patches, those first ones, the energy enhancers, on 8 Olympic swimmers, and 6 out of 8 of those swimmers beat their own personal records the very first day they tried them. So they then used them in the Olympics in 2004, and they were sweeping the medals. They ended up calling in the anti-doping team because of the wins, thinking they were using something. They found nothing, again, because these patches are non-transdermal, nothing enters the body. And so they had to continue using them. So in that time span, he created some other patches and then decided that the future of medicine was in regenerative medicine, spent 12 years and $4.5 million researching stem cells and GHK-Cu. And that is when the X39 was born in early 2020, late 2019, early 2020 is when it came to market, which is why you might not have heard about it until more recently. And that is what has taken the company from being a $20 million a year company to over 600 million in 3 years. They're on track for over $1 billion this year. They actually won the Bravo Award 2 years in a row for the fastest growing company in the industry, a 3,000% increase. They just won the Biotech Innovation Award for stem cell therapy. And that was over 15 countries, I think, submitted nominations, and thousands of different companies, and Lifewave won that award. So for those who like to do their own research, I would recommend going to this site down here on the bottom here. This is it info.com. It's got the patent, which is showed here. There's just a paragraph really of the patent. It's a 23-page patent. It's got the scientific research on that website. It has testimonials from A to Z. I was going to say if there's any Americans on here, I know Z, but Z in Canada and probably the UK, as well. Interviews with the founder, inventor, and medical doctors, and for people who are starting out and have no science background, a few short videos on phototherapy, what phototherapy is, how these patches are phototherapy, but all the way up to videos with, again, medical doctors. So to get started, for those interested, and I would recommend getting back to the person who invited you to the call, and they can give you a lot more information about this. But really, there are two ways to enroll. It says 3 here, but I really don't know why anyone would do the first one, retail customer, because it's 50% more expensive. So it makes no sense to me whatsoever, unless you have money to throw away, which I don't think anyone does nowadays. You can either be a preferred customer or a brand partner. As a preferred customer, you get the wholesale pricing, $99.95 USD for a month's worth. But as a preferred customer, if you're talking with someone, like we always share our favorite restaurants, our favorite store, favorite shows, we just talk about things that we're doing. And then if someone's interested and they want to buy it from you, you have to send them somewhere else if you're a customer because you can't enroll someone. As a brand partner, you get the same wholesale pricing. You actually get better pricing if you want to buy in bulk. You get discounts. And if someone's interested, you can help them out and they can sign up with you. And also, a lot of people who say, well, I'm not interested in sharing it. I just want to try it. There's zero obligation to the business side of it. There's zero obligation to purchase on a regular basis or share it or sell it or anything. So that is the way that I usually recommend with people. And the other thing is, which of course comes up a lot, right? Pricing, people are always putting out money. There's inflation. The taxes are going up. And so money is getting tighter for people. There is an incredible opportunity with this company. Even if it is just getting your patches paid for, how would that feel to just be able to use these patches and not feel like you're paying for them? Just even as little as that, but there is the opportunity to make a little extra, maybe another 500 a month, maybe another 1,000, or depending on the amount of effort that you put into it, it can be sky's the limit, actually. So this option here, this is how you can jump in as a brand partner, the different packages. So the core is, I know the slide is a little wonky on the eyes, I would say, but 3 months worth for $295 US dollars. So it's a tiny bit of savings there. But then the advanced is 6 months worth for $535. So that's a $60 savings. The advanced plus is $975 US dollars for 11 months worth. So it's $125 US dollars off. And the premium is $1750 for 20 months worth. So it's $250 savings. And again, depends how many people are in your family, how many people are using it, whether you're thinking of other people gifting it. It's Christmas time coming up. A lot of people are thinking about, what do I get family members or people who have, instead of getting another item of clothing, people need to regain their health is just such a great idea, in my opinion, for gifts. So that is the end of my presentation, and I will open it up now to questions. Actually, before we get to questions, I am going to ask, I do believe Susie told me there's someone on here, Ahmed, if I pronounce that correctly, that you were willing to share your testimonial.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. So I'm taking it for about 3 months now. And originally the reason why I took it was because I was pre-diabetic. And I was a bit worried because me and the missus were trying out. Anyway, I gained a lot of weight. a lot of aches, a lot of problems. I'm 42 years old. And anyway, after meeting Suzu, I've ended up taking it just to try it out for 3 months to see how it goes. And I've had very good results with it. So I feel like I've regressed in age. I feel younger. I basically just got my blood test done, and I haven't got the result yet. But basically, I think I'm going to be. So they diagnosed me with before I took this. I was at the mark where you're diabetic, and I'll have to see what the results are. But I've got a very good feeling that I'm no longer diabetic anymore, or pre-diabetic, or within that scope. The main thing I wanted to say is that me and my missus have been taking it for 3 months now, and my hair started growing back where I had a bald patch. I've lost quite a lot of weight, but at the same time, I think this is a tool to help you balance your body a bit better. So I've had to. I do exercises in the morning. I do intermittent fasting. I try not to eat any carbohydrates. It's like a lot. I've listened to quite a lot of the to yourself in a few months, and I feel like I'm balancing my life so much better. And it's a tool to help you be healthier rather than it fix everything in your life. Do you know what I mean? It's a tool that allows you to be in a better position in life, where I felt like I was going downhill before, where now I feel like I'm climbing up that hill but I feel so much better. And as I said, the positives is that my hair's growing back. I think I'm no longer diabetic. I'll find out if I am or not in time to come, and I'll let you know. Things like I used to have patches. So before the patch, every time I would eat anything, I would have like a spike in my insulin, and I'd get rashes all around my neck. I haven't had that. That pretty much stopped within the first couple of weeks of taking X39. I'm very happy. I've tried to tell so many people about it. Everyone's very skeptical, as you know, I'm sure. But I'm very happy with it, and that's my testimony, basically.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And I think, okay, Heidi, you have your hand up. Are you wanting to share?
Yeah, I have that photo that I took of my cousin who she had scraped her arm, and well, my dog scraped her arm, and I was witness to the healing that we put at X39. I could put it in the chat so people can at least see it. I just want you, like, I wouldn't have believed it had I not seen it. You can probably click on it. It was a terrible gash. She's got, that 74-year-old paper thin skin. And my dog was playing with the ball and just scraped it. And oh my gosh. And that is after, what is it, day 16? It healed like we couldn't believe it. So I took those pictures. We did the same lighting every day. And she's going, take the picture again. Let's see it. So I just want you to, like, I just can't believe how quickly it healed.
Thank you. Yeah, that is amazing. It's so great that you took pictures and you documented that. That is astounding. And I'm not very quick to get this, but along the same lines, another friend, I've got huge testimonials, but he had a big gash in his palm and didn't want to go to the doctor. And so he said he just folded the skin over and he put the patch on the other side of his hand. And he sent me a picture 3 hours later, like the before and after. And he said, I feel like Wolverine. He's like, the healing was so fast. He goes, I feel like Wolverine. It's crazy. So this is a great picture. Like, it's a great visual for people to see that as well. So thank you, Heidi. And I think, Ashley, you have your hand?
Oh, sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you guys, but I don't know where on my screen so I can put my hand up. I have a lot of questions, actually. I've had cancer. Let's put it that way.
She
Okay,
can go,
well,
she
no,
can go first.
no, because I don't want the questions recorded.
Oh,
So just want to finish with the testimonials, and then I'll stop the recording, and then we'll do questions.
actually, I don't think, okay, well, I was pregnant with my fourth child last year, and during my pregnancy, for some reason, I don't know, it's wild, but my sciatic nerve got crushed. So when I delivered him, I finally got to go for my MRI. I actually had 5 of them, and we found out, yeah, that the disc between the L4 and L5 bulged out, which made me go, my whole back go crooked because I was compensating for the pain the whole pregnancy. So I had to go for a medical emergency. They flew me out to VGH. And at that point, I was incontinent, so lost control of my bowels and my bladder. And the surgery failed. It was a complete nightmare. So I started patching, and slowly I started to feel my leg again. And I'm walking now, and Cruz is 15 months. So it's completely changed our lives.
Amazing. I know when I first heard your story, I feel like I'm in tears because especially, younger people, right? And to have such a life-changing event and then to be able to regain, and you've got children, right? Like it's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that too. Thank you. What an incredible story. Okay, and Nikki, I think you were going to share as well, and then we'll get to the questions.
Sure. Thank you, Ashley. That just brought tears to my eyes. So I was also introduced to the patch 3 months ago, and I had been fighting to find a diagnosis for my pain in my body for years, seeing 2 different rheumatologists, and it started with fibromyalgia, ended with palindromic rheumatism, which to me was just another word for you have pain, we don't know how or why. Let's try these drugs. I did to no avail. Tried every holistic thing I could think of. I really don't like to even take Advil, but I have asthma. I had endometriosis, but had a hysterectomy and migraines. So 3 months ago, started it. Within 3 days, I had no heartburn or gut issues at all. Within a week, my joints and my tendon swelling had gone down. And since then, I'm in no pain at all. I'm not taking my inhaler for my asthma. I can climb. We're on property out in the country, and we have a very steep hill behind our house. I'm climbing it like a mountain goat because there's times it's so steep, I kind of have to go hands and knees. I don't need my inhaler, which I've packed every day for the last 46 years. My daughter has ADHD. She's just recently started college, was still on her meds. It was very difficult for her to focus. She tried the patch, and within a week, she was off of her Concerta, and she's been on it for 11 years. And my husband has other issues too, big medical issues, and he's off his medications. And as a family, we are so happy and hopeful and healthy that Rachel is the one that introduced it to me, and I love her dearly. And yeah, it's been life changing, and I would recommend it for everyone and anyone, including their animals.
Thank you, Nikki. And it's so amazing to hear the stories all the time. I never get tired of listening to them. So thank you. Okay, so I will, those who are watching the recording, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and yeah, get back to the person who invited you.